I'm 37 years old, and I've never been to a strip club. There was a time when I was in my early 20s where I almost went to one. And, it was me and a few friends, and we were driving there, we were ready to go in. But I felt ashamed, I felt embarrassed. So my friend who really wanted to go into the strip club, he was really eager to go inside and see the ladies. I'm like, no, I can't go inside. Turn around, take me home. And I made this friend take me home, and he was obviously all excited to go into the strip club, and I made somebody drive me home, and they had to, drive me from the strip club back to my house because I was too ashamed and embarrassed to go into the strip club. Obviously, I've awakened a lot in my life, and, I'm considering, because I've been involuntarily, I know you don't, I guess what I'm trying to say is I've never been to a strip club. And I asked my mother yesterday, I said, Mom, look, I was wondering, do you think it would be a good idea to go? And she says, Andrew, you're afraid of contamination. Andrew, you're afraid of germs. These are sleazy people. And I'm like, well, you're not allowed to touch the strippers, obviously, and, but yeah, I know what she's saying. Strip clubs are usually sleazy, dirty places. And, obviously they're very expensive too. You gotta spend a lot of money to get in. You gotta tip the strippers, as I'm told. So, I mean, do I want, I said how it's every man's dream to date a beautiful stripper. And somebody says, Andrew, you're projecting. This is a reflection. No, it's not. Some people want to date professional women who work as lawyers, doctors, accountants. Some people want to date millionaire women. Strippers are seen as sleazy. Strippers are seen as low class. Strippers are seen as inadequate. Not everybody wants to date a stripper. Stop projecting, Andrew. I'm like, okay, maybe. I don't know. I'm like, I would love to just date a stripper and collaborate on spicy content. I don't know. It just seems like the dream come true. Somebody says, Andrew, set your sights higher. Other people said, Andrew, you're setting your sights, somebody says, Andrew, these strippers are probably too good for you. Andrew, you're too low class and too mentally handicapped and too idiotic to date a stripper. I'm like, first off, I don't think strippers are the best and brightest. These aren't exactly, people who are going to prestigious universities. People who get into stripping are usually idiots themselves. So maybe I could date a stripper, and her and I could live in idiocy together, I don't know, it seems like the dream come true. I'm only joking, obviously, but somebody says, Andrew, you're a goody two-shoes. Andrew, you're classy. You're tasteful. Set your sights higher. Try to find true love in the real world with a real woman. Maybe go to a mental health recovery group. So I was thinking, maybe for the first time, I know these strip clubs typically open at 10 p.m. and I'm usually in bed at like 8 p.m. Somebody says, Andrew, you're not going to go to a strip club. Andrew, you're going to probably be in bed by 8:30 p.m. Frankly, these strip clubs are open way too late for you. And even, let's say hypothetically speaking, I was to go to a strip club. I would be embarrassed. I'd be ashamed. I'd be standing out there like a deer caught in headlights. I'd feel awkward. I wouldn't, if I was to go to a strip club, I'd want to go with a friend. I'd want somebody to show me what to do, how to behave, how to act. Somebody says, but then again, I don't want to share the experience with another man, I don't want, somebody says, what are you going to go to? Yeah, somebody says, what, are you going to go to the strip club with your mother or father? Well, my father, was obviously very prudish when it came to women. He made talking about women uncomfortable, and I don't want to go to a strip club with my mother either. Somebody says, try to find, true love with a real woman, maybe at a mental health recovery group in the real world, Stop trying to, strip clubs are phony, strip clubs are fake, And, set my sights higher. I can get a woman of high class, I don't need